Hi guys, welcome to Digital TechJoint. I hope everybody is doing good, and thank you for all the wonderful comments and suggestions that I get in this channel. I really appreciate. Okay, so today in this tutorial I'm going to cover how to create a simple to-do application using ASP.NET Blazor with .NET Framework 9.0. So we will divide this into phases. First we'll create a simple to-do application with a dashboard. Then we'll have identity to it, like login and registration functionality using the Microsoft Identity Framework. And then we will upload this application on Azure. So these are the three steps where we get to learn about Blazor, about identity service on securing an application. And third one is to deploy this into Azure portal. So let's get started. And before we get into the practical, let me show the demo to you guys. So this is the home screen. The moment you land to this application, you can see there are tasks that are overdue. It's already due date is elapsed, and tasks that are pending for you today. So this is a simple dashboard that we have created. We have a dashboard menu on the left hand side, and this is the to-do application. So when you click on the to-do menu, you can see the list of to-dos that are displayed. You can also filter it based on to-dos that are open, in progress, and which are completed. So when it's completed, you can see there's a strikeout on those items that is already completed, and you can see the status as well. So now when you click on all status, you can see all the to-do tasks. You can also see the total number of tasks, 12, and you can also search. Now the moment you select the filter, you can see the total number of count also gets reflected, so that user can easily identify. We can also search. So there is a simple search given, for example Gen. I just type Gen, so you can see agentic AI video which is there available in our channel, and Gen AI tutorial. Similarly, you can search project, and also you can search within the filter as well. For example, I say that show me all the open tasks. Within the open tasks, I can search, okay, is there anything on Blazor? I click on it. Yes, so there is this Blazor. So this is how the search items and filter, and you can do the search. Now we can also add new task. So I click on add new task and enter the task name. Release to do in Blazor.NET 9. Some description, and the due is for today. So today I'm supposed to release this. I select today. The task is in progress since I'm doing it. So here you can see it is now, if I filter in progress, I can see release to do application which is for due for today. So when you go to the dashboard, you can see this is also added for in today's task. So this is what we are going to create in a demo. As I mentioned, this is a phase 1. In part 2, what we'll do is that we will add a sign in and registration to this application, and then in part 3 we will deploy this application on Azure. So without wasting much time, let's go ahead and open Visual Studio and start the practical session. So let's start Visual Studio 2022 and create a new project and select Blazor Web App. You can search Blazor, and you can see select this Blazor Web App C#. Click on next, and let's call this to do app. Okay, and Blazor. So let's call it to do app and Blazor. This is the path where it will be saved. So let me select demo, C demo, click on next. We will be .NET 9.0, and we will untick configure for HTTPS right now, and click on create. So it is creating the project templates. So the project templates created, we have to do app Blazor.client and to do app Blazor. So we are working on the server. So here this is a project that we will be working on. We'll close all the tabs, and first thing is we will go ahead and set up the app setting. Here I'm going to add the connection string. So I'll just copy paste the connection string. So this is the connection string, and let me increase the space. So here I'll just enter the database name. So I'll call it as to do Blazor. Let me name it to do app Blazor DB. Okay, so this is our database name. So we'll save this. Second thing we'll do is we will create models. So I'll add a folder and call it models, and here we will name the class. So I'm going to create a class file and name it as to do task, and I'm going to add some properties which is required for a to do application. So these are the properties that I've added. I'll just explain once. So there is a ID, that is a to do ID. You can see there's a to do ID. This is a primary key ID. Then we have the task name, and we have also added some validation. It is required and the max length should be 200. And if it is not, then it throws an error. Similarly, we have a description of the task. Then we have due date, which is the date time. And then task status, which is a enum, and the enum is declared below. And then we have the date time created at, and this is the enum which says the status of the task, which is 0 means open, in progress, and completed. So we have declared that in the properties. Okay, that is task status. So this is a model that we have created. We'll just rebuild once. Okay, now before we proceed, let's add the required packages, because we are going to now write the services. So before we write the services, we will have to install certain packages. So let's click on browse, and I'll install those packages. So guys, I have installed following 4 packages, that is starting with core, Microsoft Entity Framework Core 9.0 version. Similarly, Entity Framework Core Design, then Entity Framework.SQL Server, and Microsoft Entity Framework Core.tools. This was already by default installed. Okay, so these are the 4 packages that I installed it. Now once this is installed, let's create. So you can, since the model is already there, let me also create the data layer. So I'll create a folder called data. Right click on it and say class, and let me call this as application db context to do. Okay, and since the packages are installed, I'll just inherit this db context. Okay, and have to include the framework. So I'll just include .core. I just click the mouse over here and select generate constructor with option, and I'll just remove this and create the property dbset property. So this will be public dbset. I'll call the model class to do task right over here and name this as task, and this will be properties. This is the name of the table that will be created, task. So now we have the db application db context class as well. We have the connection string as well with the database name, and we have the model defined also. Let's go to programs and include the dependency injection to connect to the database just before the build. So here I'm going to say builder.services .add db context, and this is our application db context to do options use SQL. Here you can see, and this will have the connection string. So what we can do is builder.configuration.get connection string, and we'll pass the default connection. This is the name of the connection string that I've defined in the app setting. Okay, so our connection string is also defined. So now let's create the database and the table, and then we'll proceed with the creation of the service. So to create the CRUD operation, so let's go to packages. Here we have the packages, and just I'll extend this font size so that you're, and I'm going to say add migrations, add migration initial database setup. So the build is successful, and you should be able to see the migration folder that is created right over here. And let's update database, and this will run the scripts. Yes, it is run and it is successfully executed. Let us just increase. Okay, and okay, so now if you open SQL Server and refresh it, so I am using this free version. It is a Studio, SQL Server Studio Management Studio to 20.0, and you should be able to see the Blazor to-do app database over here. To-do app Blazor DB. Here you can see the table task will be defined, created with the following fields. So you can see all these fields are there: ID, task name, description, due date, status, and created app. Great. So now we have done this. Now it's time that we go ahead and create our class. We will be creating a service class that will have the CRUD operation defined. So let's do that. So we'll create an interface, and then we'll do the actual implementation. So for that, let's create a folder called services. And inside the services, we are going to create an interface. So let's create an interface. Right click on services, add new item, and say interface, and just name this I to do service. And here we are going to define the interfaces. So let's do that. So first thing we're going to do is task list. So list all the to do items, and name this as get all. So let's name it get all task async. So this is first item. Second is to get task to do task. This can be optional because we are getting get task by ID async and pass int ID. So this could be possible that the ID pass does not exist in the database. That is why it is optional. Then for search, so we will use the same listing because this can be multiple. So this will be search task async, and here I'm going to say string search term. Then we do create task, and this will be a single to do, and this will be create task async, and we will pass the task. Similarly, we'll have update task async, and this will be also passing the same variable. Then we'll have task, this will be a flag because here we are going to delete. So this will return whether it got deleted. This will be delete task async, and this will be int ID. So this was related to the normal operation of the to-do application. Now we are going to create some more interfaces that will be for the dashboard. Okay, and specifically to fetch tasks that are due on today, that is tasks that is already overdue. So let me define those. So guys, I've created another 4 declaration, that is which will be listing, which will be get task for today, get completed task, get open task and where the status is open, and get overdue task where the status is already, where the due date is already elapsed. So totally we have defined all the class implementation, that is the class declaration in the interface class. Now let's create a class that will do the actual implementation for all this method. For that, let me again right click on services folder, create a class and name this class as to do service. So this will be to do service. This will inherit I to do service, and now if you click on that, it will show you that you have not declared it. So I'm just going to say implement it over here. See, now it is implemented it, but we need to write the code. So it's just done the declaration so that the error is removed. Now we will actually sort it so that it is simpler for understanding. But before we do that, let me just create the database declaration. So private read only to do, so application db context to do, and this will be a context class. Let's create a constructor CTOR tab. So this is a constructor, and here I'm going to say application db context, and this will be context, and this will be underscore. Okay, so this is done. After that, now let's pick up get all task async. So let's go to the get all task async. Let's copy this. I just prefer that things are in order, so I just put this. So what is this going to do is that get all the tasks, retrieve all tasks from database, and descending order. So simply say return await. So once I type await, async is added, and it is public. Okay, and await, and this will be context dot task dot order by descending, and this will be our t dot created date. Okay, and this will be to list async. Get all tasks. So this is not required. Okay, so now you can see this is clearly retrieves all the fetches all the tasks from database in descending order. So next event that we write is get tasks by ID. So you can just search for it. So get tasks by ID, just copy this, cut it, and just paste it over here. This you can remove it, and this will be return await under the task dot find async, and this will be, we will pass the ID. Declare this. Okay, so this is our second task. Now let's go to search task method. So here you can see search task async. Let's cut it and get it above, and we will remove this, add a code. So what this will do is that it will search task by matching search term against the task name or description, converts to lower case for case insensitive comparison, checks if the field contains the search term, or matches if either task name or description contains the term. So it will search all the fields basically. So let's do that. So before we start that, it will check whether the search term is empty. So string dot is null or white space search term If that is the case, it will say return await get all task. There's extra way, huh? Okay, so this is done. Okay, so now, okay, so once this is done, so if there is no search term, then it will return the all tasks. For example, if I'm writing some search term, and if I remove it and click on search, it will by default fetch all the records. Okay, so we'll show that. Then here we are saying lower search term, and this will be search term dot lower if the search is not empty, if there is a value, and then we are going to say return await underscore context dot task enter dot where t dot task name to lower dot contents lower search term. Okay, and here or we will say enter dot description e dot description dot to lower dot contents close the bracket dot order by ascending date. This will be created, and to list async. That's it. This is the code for search. Okay, so we have done with our search as well. Now let's go ahead and create the task. So here, right over here, it is available. So over here, what we are going to do is task dot created date. By default, we set as today, and then underscore context dot task dot add task, and we saying await text dot save changes async and return task. So this is the code for our creating task. Then we'll say updating task. So let's go ahead and copy the, okay, so let's copy this code, and where is our update? Here, right over here. This will be public async, and we'll remove this declaration over here. Okay, and this will be, we'll remove updating the date, and this will be, instead of add, it will be update and save changes and return task. So I'll just push this up, cut it, and I'll just add it over below update. As I told you, I like to keep the things in order. So now we have the final, that is delete task. So in this delete task, we will first find the task, we'll remove this. Okay, so here we will say where task equals to await underscore context dot task dot find async, and let me declare. Okay, and after that we check the validation. If it is null, then we are going to return false. Otherwise, it will be task dot remove task, and then underscore await text dot save changes. I think this goes cool, and then return through. But the task was deleted. So we have also done with the delete task now. Now let's proceed with get task for today. Okay, so let me just go ahead and say get task for today. Let's go cut this and paste it over here, and this will be getting the task for today. So we will just make sure that we are fetching the task only for today. So we're declaring a variable today, which will be not now but today. Okay, and then we will also declare a variable today dot add days 1. Okay, and then we are going to say return await context dot task dot where t dot due date due date is greater than equals to today, and t dot due date less than tomorrow, and important t dot status not equals to. So we are going to call the models class because there we have the enum defined dot task status completed. So we ensure that the task is fetched for today, which is not completed yet. Enter dot order by t dot due date dot to list async. So guys, this is a code to fetch task due for only today. Now let's go ahead and fetch the task completed. So here we are going to say return await task dot where t dot status equals to models dot task status is completed dot order by descending due date and to sync. So this will fetch completed task. Okay, then we have get open task. So let's see open task. So we'll just copy this. This is over here. When you paste it, it does not add async, as you noticed. So let me just remove this. And this is open task, right? So here task, and this is get open task. So this will be task dot open, okay, or t dot status equals to models dot task dot in progress. That's it. This covers the open tasks, and the last one is tasks that are pending, that are overdue. It is already gone. The date is already gone. So let's also write code for them for this method. So this will be where today equals to date time dot today. This will be return await task dot where t dot due date less than today, and t dot status is not equals to models dot task name dot completed dot order by the due date enter dot to list. Okay, so even we are done with this. So guys, we have completed our core implementation, that is the services over here. Okay, so if you see, this is a core implementation that we have done. This class contains all the implementations required for a full-fledged to-do application. Now we are going to create Razor components and call these services over there to perform our CRUD applications. So for that, we will start creating components, and inside components we will start creating the pages. Now by default we have certain Razor components. First is our routing, so routing page, then our Razor pages. So here we will implement Bootstrap library over here, so that we get the same look and feel. And then we have imports. So these are the clients and components that can be imported. For example, here we don't see model class, so what we can do is we can simply say add models. We should also add services. So this is a global declaration, so that we don't have to do it in the individual pages. We can also do data. Okay, so we have done this. You should also do this and declaration. Then we have the home page, which is a simple home page. Now what we'll do is that so all the CSS and everything that I'll add it in the project, which will be available to you guys. You can download it from the link, so that you don't spend time on the look and feel. Obviously you can go ahead and modify and change the look and feel if you don't like the color and the text combination, but our main idea is to implement a fully fledged to-do database driven application in Blazor. Okay, so which we are doing it. We have created a class services, and now we'll create the components. But before we do that, we'll just rebuild it once. A lot of codes have been written. So the rebuild all succeeded. Now we are confident there is no runtime issues or any issues that we have created, that we have by mistakenly added in the service class. So let's go ahead and add the components. So in the components and under the components, we have pages. Now here you have error and home page. We will use home page, but we will create certain Razor component now. The first one is dashboard. So this is the first Razor component. Okay, so inside the home we will call dashboard. Then we'll create one more Razor component called as to do. So this is our to do list basically. To do. Okay, and then we will add one more Razor component called add task, which will add new task. So we have created the following pages. Home, by default it is there. Then we have Razor. Then we have to do, that will list all the activities. List all the tasks, and then add new tasks. Now we will use add task for both, for adding new records as well as updating. So I'll show you how to do that. And before we proceed, if anyone is new to Razor, we have a playlist. So we have created a playlist where we have the basic concept on. We have the introduction to Blazor. So this is like a playlist having introduction to blazor.asp.net, what is ASP server and WebAssembly, how to develop a full stack application using ASP.NET Blazor. So which covers the very important concept about how the Blazor components are placed. Now if you look at the Blazor component which is created, for example home page or to do, it has a Razor over here in defined it's a two section. One is the code base, which is defined over here at the red code, which has your server side code, and on the top we have the Razor code, that is the HTML code that you see that for the UI. So it in the same single Razor component we have both the sections where we can define. So I'll show it to you. But if you are new, I suggest that you watch my videos on Blazor, which will give you a good understanding before you come and do this to do application. So before we also proceed with actual creating it, let's also set up the CSS. So inside www root, I'm going to add some images and some CSS that it will be available for you guys as well. So right click on the www root folder. I'll just paste this component. So we have app CSS, which has all the CSS defined, and then we have the menu. We have a left hand side menu that I showed to you during the demo, where we clicked on dashboard and to do, and we have some images over here to be shown. So this will be available once you download this project. Apart from that, we will also go ahead and in the app Blazor we will add the CSS. So we'll just change this and we'll write component, because I have added the required component over here. So this is a component. So I'll just copy this, go to our app Blazor and just add this over here. So this is now your app Blazor is now referring to this CSS, app CSS, as well as components.css. Now here I will also add the bootstrap. So the link of the bootstrap will be added over here. So I will just select this session, okay, and paste it. So here you can see I've added the bootstrap for CSS look and feel, basically the look of the entire application. And also I've added this viewport for having a responsive layout in the mobile as well as the browser, and also the icons which I had pasted over here, okay, inside these images. So this all the things are set up now. So now let's go ahead and go to home page over here, and what we'll do is that we will call the dashboard screen on the home page. So we'll make the changes as well. So here our render mode will define render mode as interactive server. So we have defined this render mode interactive server, and we will remove this, and here we'll call the dashboard. So here we'll call the dashboard over here, or you can also like this way. So this is interactive server. So now you can see, so the moment the home page loads, it will load the dashboard, and inside the dashboard what we'll do is that we will also call the list of tasks that is pending for today, as well as overdue tasks that I showed to you. So we'll see that, and we'll also have to add the nav. So here we have the main layout, so this will change. I'll add the nav menu over here. So let's create a component called nav menu and add that over here. So this is basically the left hand side menu that we saw during the demo, which add the dashboard as well as to do item. Right click on the, just pasted that. So this is a nav menu that I've added. So even this will be part of the project download. So here basically we have added the dashboard. So you can see dashboard / dashboard is a URL, and then there is to do. So to do is the page that we created over here. So you see that to do is in T is capital and D is capital, but when you call it, you basically are calling it to do. So that is happening because we define the page as / to do. So this is how the name will be referred. So now when you go to the main layout, the menu, the nav menu, you can see it is / to do. So please make a note of that. Similarly, dashboard also, I'll go to dashboard and just define the name of the dashboard, which will be @page and / dashboard. So these things, such concepts are explained in my previous checklist videos. So here, so now our nav menu is ready. So this is what our nav menu will look like, and this is the title of the application, to do. I'll just say to do app, and this is on the left hand side. So this is one, and now it will also make some changes in the main menu. So this is a main menu that I've done some changes. Basically here on your left hand side, it will call the nav menu, which will display two options, dashboard and to do, and this is where the main container is, where the body, that is whatever module you create, you click, it will be displayed on your right hand side in this body. So this is only minor change that I have done it. So with this we are ready with our UI and UX. Let us just run the application once and see how does our application look like. So this is what the application looks like that I showed to you. So this is the by default the dashboard is loaded as I showed in the home page, and when I click on to do, so the page is also getting loaded. So now let's go ahead and write code in our components, to do Razor components. So here what I'll do is that I will write the code behind, and then I will have the Razor code pasted over here, so that and I'll explain this code as well. But let's go ahead and start the code behind. So we'll define the render mode as interactive server. Then we are going to inject our service class as to-do service, okay, and call it as to-do service. So we are referring the interfaces, not the main class. And then we will inject navigation manager for navigating between Razor components, and we'll call it as navigation. And since we will be using JS runtime to take confirmation before deleting to do from user, so I'm using IJS runtime and call this as JS runtime. Okay, with that I'll also define the page title. So this will be my page title, and this will be to do hyphen application. And we'll come to our code base. So here we'll write the code, and then we will add the Razor code as well for the UI. So we start by declaring our variable to do list. So private list to do task and all tasks. Then we'll have filter tasks. So private list to do tasks, and this will be my filtered task. Then private string search term. This is the search filter that user will enter. And then finally status string selected status. This is the task status, and this will be also by default empty. We will also have a boolean variable which will indicate if the UI is loading. So this I'll show it to you. So once this is done, we will first write a method to load all the tasks. So for that we say private async task load task. Now here is we will say is loading by default true. We'll have a try catch block, okay, and inside finally we'll say is loading false. Inside the try catch we are going to say get all open task, which is all tasks equals to await and our service class which we defined above to do service, and say get open task async. Okay, so this is done, and here since we are using, so we are already using private async task, and we are going to say so I had not copied the variable properly. So this is a first code that fetches all the tasks. Now we have a method called onInitiated when the page component is loaded. So we are going to say protected overrides task. So here you can see, just tab it and protected override task, and here it will say await loads task. So let's go ahead and test this. So I'm just putting a breakpoint over here. So ideally, let's run this and click on the to do. Page is getting loaded. We click on to do. Okay, so now why are we seeing this error? To do app, to do service. So to do service is not accessible because we have not added that in our program. So we need to add that over here. We have to add that over here as a dependent injection. Builder.services that adds scope and I to do service, and this is to do service. So now we should not see that error. So now I click on to do, it will call the breakpoint and it will come over here, click over here, and now it has find no task. So obviously there is no task over there. I have not created one, so it's not displayed. So this is working. Now let's further write code to enhance this code base. So now while we are fetching and adding this to all task variable, we also have filtered task. So I'm going to pass the same value over there. Okay. Now we will say search items. So let us go ahead and write method for searching the item. So we say private async task search task is loading is true if, okay, now there is a try catch block. Finally is loading false. Okay, now inside this, what are we going to write code over here? This will perform search and filtering based on the search term and status. So both. So either the customer or the user will type in the search criteria, he'll type any text to search, or he might also select the status. So if he has selected the status, we need to search within the selected status. And possibility is that for that particular status we don't have the record. So this code explains that. Basically it covers all the scenarios that I just mentioned. String dot is null or white space search term. Okay, now if no search, if its value is not entered, string dot is null, then check whether the user has selected the status. Okay, and if there is no filter selected, get all tasks. So this will say all tasks await to do service dot get all task. Otherwise this will say await, and we need to write code over here to fetch based on the status. So we will come back over here to fetch records task based on status selection. Okay, so this code does that. Now otherwise we say else. That means if the user has entered something, then what happens? So we are saying where search results await to do service dot search, and this will be search terms. Now again there will be clause over here if the search is not found. So if not string dot is null or white space selected status and enum dot try trace, and this is models dot task status there is task status dot, and this will be selected one because we are the user is selected and it is getting that value to this variable called status. Okay, filter search result by status in this condition. So this is all task search result, which is defined over here, dot where t dot status to list. So status equals to status, which is the dot status to list. Otherwise we will say else no status filter, use all search results. So this says all task and search result, the one which we found above over here. So now whatever user types in, and if he is able to fetch the status, get some records, it will further drill down to select whether even the status is selected. If the status is selected, then within this search result it will filter for those status. Otherwise it will show all the record that was filtered over here. That's a simple code that is written over here. And finally we say filtered task is all task dot to list. We store that into the filtered status variable. Okay, so now we also have the filter task, one more code that I will be writing so that I can use it over here. So let's do that. So this will be private async task, private async task filter task. Okay, so here is loading is loading is through try finally is loading is false. Okay, and inside this we are going to say if string dot is null or white space search term, so this will be no filters get all task, which is all task await to do service dot get all task. Okay, else we are going to say all task await to do service dot search and search terms. Search term is a variable above, so don't get confused. It's right over here, which will be bind with the text box. This is one part, and then finally here. Okay, so we have written this code for filter. Okay, so we just missed one line of code, so I just have to add one more block above this, which is if string dot is null or white space selected status. Okay, and then put this into this block, and here write else. So now here we'll do is status filter. Status filter applied. So here we'll say if enum dot try parse, and then this is models dot task status. Okay, and this will be selected status out where to status. And inside this we are going to say if string dot is null or white space search term status filter only get all task, then filter by status. So where all task list await to do service dot get all task. Okay, and now our variable all task, not this one, all task equals to all task list dot where status dot to list. Okay, so this is part 1. Now if you go to the else, so this is both search and status filter, search and filter by status. This comments for your understanding. Search results is to await to do service dot search task passing and search item search terms, and all task equals to search results dot where status to list. Okay, so this, and finally what we're going to do is filter task and all tasks dot to list. Let me check whether I've done that. Okay, so this finishes the code over here, and then we also have, let me just rebuild once, lot of code written. So there is no error in the code, build was succeeded. So now let's also write a small routine to clear the private task clear search, and this will be, first we need to clear the variable. Search term is string dot empty, and then return search task. Okay, so this is still not defined. I'll just define this. So we have created omni methods. We have search task. Okay, it's over here. We have it over here. Sorry, search task, and we have search task. We have filter task. We have clear task, and we have load task. So now we also have some keyword events that we have written. So whenever the drop down status is selected, we need to also change the status and fetch the record. So right, async task on status filter changed. We need to call change event argument, and what this will do is pass the selector status key dot value to string, otherwise string dot empty, and then this will say filter, because we have filter task defined to fetch data based on it. So this is what the code is. So we have had this method over here, which the moment user select only the status, then it will do the permutation process. It will check whether only the status is selected, or also the user has typed something and then he's selecting the status. For example, I can type in project Blazor and select status open. So I want to search for Blazor projects only in the open status task, not in all the tasks. So that is why the moment you select it, it will call this status filter, which is defined over here. So that was one. So with that, we covered this entire code. We can also add one more event similar to text box, where search text box. The moment you enter something and click on enter, search and click on enter, that will definitely call the search text, which is over here. So this is for, so please understand, search task is for someone typing in the text box to search something. Filter task is someone selecting the status. So let's add the event. So we are going to say private async task handle key press. Okay, handle key press, and this is keyboard event E, and this will say if E dot key equals to enter, then you call await search task. Hope this is clear, guys. Now also add navigations to add. So here we have, so we're going to define that page. So I'll define it over here. I have defined, I have to need to define, there are two methods and two declarations I have to do, which I'll do it over here. The first is private void navigate to add task. So here we'll use a navigation manager. So we define navigation manager above. So navigation dot navigate, and this will be slash add task. So this is one. I'll just copy this, go to add task @page and paste it. Okay. Now as I told you, I'm going to use the same page for editing, updating the task. For that I need to pass the ID. So I say private void edit task int ID. Here also use the navigation manager. At this time I will use slash and pass the ID as well. So how do I navigate that over here? So I just copy this entire code and go to my add task and @add task. So now whenever the ID is passed, that means it is editing, and whenever this ID is not, that means it is adding a new record. That's what the communication sees. And finally we will also write code to delete the task, which we skip. So private async task delete task, and what this is going to do is where confirm, and this is we will use JS runtime dot invoke async fill in, and this is confirm title and prompt, are you sure you want to delete question mark. Okay, now if confirm, then go ahead and delete it. Await to do service dot delete task and pass the ID, and then if deleted, if deleted, then await load task, load all the tasks. That's it. This is a code for deletion. Let's rebuild it once our code is ready. What I'm going to do is that add the eraser components to the to-do. Okay, it's built. So I'm going to just close all tabs, click on to do, and here now I'm going to see this is the server side code I have already written. So, and here I'm going to write the eraser code. I'll just paste this code over here and explain to you. So this is the code, eraser UI code that I've written. So basically this is a main container. You will have the source code, so you can just, but I'll just explain. And then we have the div over here that has an option to add a new task, which will navigate to our add task page. And then we have this section over here where you have the text box, and you can see handle, key press, and all these events I've written down. This is the text box which has a search term bind over here variable, and when you click on click the search, so basically this is search task, and on the click, and this is the drop down. Here you can see the drop down over here. Okay, rest all is same. And then finally this is a UI variable that I've written everywhere. Is loading, then it will say loading, otherwise it will load. This is a filter task which has all the values, whatever we search it has, and basis this filter value, it repopulates the information. So here you can see it for each filter task, whatever data we have assigned from all tasks to filter task, it is filter it. So it checks if it is overdue, accordingly it marks it as red. Similarly, it also does for tasks which is completed. So here you can see it is completed, so it strikes those, and then finally we have the edit and delete added over here in each record, and below we have the if there is no records found, UI defined over here. So this simple filter. Let's now go ahead and run the page, and we should be able to see our to-do list, and we will also write code for add tasks so that we can add the new task and that can be displayed. So let's go ahead and click on to do. So we have clicked on to do. Here you can see no open tasks. Click add to new create. This is our search text box. This is a filter. Great. So we are in good shape. Now when I click on add new task, it should show our add to page, but here there is some issue. Does not have a property matching ID. Okay, let's see what's the issue over there. So we should define it as ID and int. So this is how we should define ID and it's an int variable. Let's again run this. So click on to do, click on add, and does not match a property like ID. Still the same error. Let me go to do. So in the edit task, I guess I need to add the $sign. Okay, now see, if you see, I was not adding it, so it was not recognizing the parameter. So that was a mistake. So now once I add the $sign, I should be able to now navigate successfully to the add task page. Okay, now we click on to do. Again the issue. Okay, to do pages add was not a property matching the name ID. So guys, I have identified the issue. The first one, the $sign, we had to add it. The second one is logically we are actually passing the ID, but in our server side code there is no variable that is accepting this value that is passed, that is the ID. So for that we need to pass parameter like that, and say public and ID that is defined over here. So public int ID, and you have to say get and set. So this is was missing. So now when you pass it, it will accept this. The value will be stored over here. So let's run now, and we should be able to successfully navigate to our add task page from the listing page. So here you can see to do is, I clicked it. Now you can see that is passing. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add the code for add task over here. So this is the first line of code that we have added, and we have also added some of the references like render, interactive server, and we have injected the to-do service that we did in the to-do page as well, and the navigation. So this is one that I've already added it. So these are the, now let's go ahead and add the server side. So let's add private to-do task, and this is our model class. Okay, then we say private date time which is optional, and this is a due date. Okay, and then we say private boolean variable is edit mode. Okay, and this is id. Okay, so this is defined whether it is in edit mode, and basis this edit mode flag we will also set our title later. So now first thing we are going to do is that we will say we will add a method to add records. So in our default on initiated async, that is protected override on initiated, this one. So we will say what is the mode. So this will be if is edit mode. Okay, then it's an update. So we are going to fetch the existing record where existing task await, and this will be to do service dot get task by id, and we will pass the id that we have set above over here. Okay, but at the same time we have to also check whether this id that was passed as record. So we'll say if existing task is not equals to null, so we are going to say task which is declared above is existing task. We are passing that to existing task, and due date will be task dot due date. Okay, else task not found, so we will say navigation dot navigate back to do. So this was for edit. Otherwise we say else, we say task dot status equals to models dot task status dot open. So we have set the status to by default open, and we will also set due date equals to date time dot today dot add day to 1. By default we'll keep tomorrow's as a due date. Okay, so this was one sort of code that we have written over here. This is default, and this is if there is a record we will pre-populate, and if data is not found we will push back to the to-do list page. Okay, so now we will also write method to cancel. So in case if you want to cancel and go back to do, so we will void cancel, and this will be navigation dot navigate to slash to do. Let's also add the main method not submit, which is private async task handle submit. This is basically checking ensure due date is synced to the task due date. So if due date that we have set is as value, if it has value, that means if it is edit, then task dot due date is set to due date dot value. Else if is edit mode, then we are going to update it. So await to do service dot update task, otherwise we are going to say await to do service dot create and task. And finally we navigate to our navigation dot navigate to do. So we have the submit button, we have the cancel button, we have the on initiated when the component is loaded, we also have the edit mode check. So with this we complete the code for adding a task. What we'll do is that we'll go to the top, and here we are going to also say page title, and we will use @ bracket is edit mode question mark, then it is edit task, okay, then colon, otherwise add task, and close the bracket. So dynamically we can adjust. Now here I'm going to just inject the Blazor HTML code for the UI, which is very simple. It's a form. I'll just show to you and explain. So this is the form, simple form or Blazor component, that is a main div, and then we have the title editor task, and then we have the edit form model, that is task, and the submit is the button on validate submit, so which we have written in the code. This is a summary validation, and then this is a form. So description, due date, and then the status selection and the submit button. Okay, so now let's run this, build this app project, and let's see how does the code work for both adding records and displaying record, and then finally we'll make the dashboard. So no exception as such. We'll close this window, all window, and we'll run. Great. So now we have the project loaded. Let's click on to do. So we should be able to see a form. Obviously there's no item. We click on. Here is a small form that added. So our first task, some description. You see by default the date is of tomorrow, and task status by default is closed. Now let's click on add. Yes, you can successfully see one task is added over here. Our first task is added. Let's add one more task. Success. We did it. Okay, and here I can say I'll select today's. I'll change today's date. Status is in progress. Click on add. This is the second task. Now let us see edit. So we'll click on edit task. Yes, successfully you can see all edit tasks is shown, and add some more details. Add some more, and this we can say success, and we can click here. You can see it's got added. Now let's also see delete this task, and this is, let's say, completed. Click save. So it moves to the completed. Obviously I have to select all completed, and you can see it's completed. I will not say completed, I'll update it. Yes, all status updated, but this I will delete just to show you the delete this one. Delete this task. So here you can see there's a pop-up. If I say cancel, nothing happens, but if I click on OK, the task gets deleted. Also you can see now it's getting filtered based on open. I'll just select this and make to in progress. So now this the colors change in progress. Now I can select in progress and all tasks in progress and open. So if you notice our all tasks window is not working. You can see in progress. Let me also add one more completed status. I mark this as completed. So we have what completed, we have in progress, and we have open. But when I click on all status, I'm not able to see the status. I have to figure it out. Let's go to do and see where is the problem. Okay, I think so I figured it out. So in your to-do code, I have actually not called this filter method in the search. See here, I left it. So this is the filter method over here that I left it. So now this should work now. Load it, we click on to do, and here you can see in progress open is shown. Now we have open, in progress, completed, and if I say all, okay, still the data is not shown. So let me go to filter, add a breakpoint over here. Okay, so this is all status open. Search term is empty. Supposed to get all three, which is bought, but it is not displayed. All status, okay, this is empty. If it is empty, filter get all status, yes, all three records. Okay, so here this code is not added over here, that's the reason. This one, now it should show all the records. Remember, the filter task should have all the records. That's it. After every search block filter, the values is passed to the filter variable. Now if you see, click on to do, okay, here I'm able to see all the tasks now completed and everything. And if I search, say success, and click, so it will find success. Then if I type first, you can see first is in progress. But when I select open and first, it is because there is no task start with the search keyword as first in open, but it's there in the in progress. Great. So with this, we actually complete this code, and we are able to see all the records now. The only task left is to create the dashboard having the task due for today and overdue task. So let's do that. So let's click on task dashboard. So in the dashboard, we have already named the dashboard, and let's say render mode as interactive server, and then inject our favorite to-do service, not the class, but to-do service. Let me just name it to-do service, and then let's inject navigation. We won't need the navigation manager over here, but still in the later stage we will include it. So this is a and let's call page title as dashboard. So here we will add the code to fetch. So in our code behind we are saying private list to do task overdue task, then private list to do task as today task, then we will use boolean is loading, private is loading by default is true. Okay, now we say protected override on initiated async, and we are going to load dashboards over here, data over here. So this will be private async task load dashboard data is loading this through, and this will be dry. Finally is loading false. Okay, and within this we will say overdue task await to do service dot get overdue task. Also we say today task, and we say await dot to do service dot get task for today. That's it. We have to write this only code, and then we call this over here, and this will be await this was a server side code, and I'll just inject the Blazor page code over here. So this is a Razor code over here, which basically has two sections. The first one is, to show you the tasks that are already overdue, okay, which is over here. Tasks that are already overdue is shown over here, and task that is pending for today is shown over here. So this is variable, I think so the variable is today task. Okay, today's task. I define the variable as today's task, so not task, or it should, I'll just change the variable to task because logically that's right, and I'll change the today's over here. So this is today's task section, and this is task which is already overdue. So now our dashboard is ready. Now let's, so there's an error which is here, which is here. Now we should not have that error. It succeeded. Now we should be able to see the dashboard. Yes, so our dashboard is loaded with no task overdue, and today's task that is displayed over here, it says no overdue task. Great job, great. So let me just add one task and edit this open and change the date which is already passed as updated, and we should be able to see that in the dashboard. You can see it is reflecting over here, and we will also add some tasks now. Dashboard test which is pending for today, and if you click on dashboard you can see the task is displayed over here. So with this, we complete our complete task management in Blazor. Okay, with all covering all the status, and you are able to see the dashboard as well. So now what we will do in our next next section, we will use the same project and we will add the registration and login method, okay, using the identity service of Microsoft, and so that every user can have their own task and notifications and dashboard, because right now it doesn't have any user ID. So now we'll create that in the next tutorial. And in the third step, what we'll do is that we'll deploy this application, Blazor application, in Microsoft Azure cloud. So this is what we have planned. So guys, with this, I guess you have understood a lot of things about Blazor, and I request everybody to please do comment and like this video. Please do share my channel link with your friend, family and colleagues. Help me to grow this channel and cover most of the topics that you have requested, and I really appreciate and thank you for your wonderful time. Thank you so much.